I don't believe in La Llorona. Not really. My family moved to a small village near a dried riverbed. It hadn't carried water in years, just cracked earth and scattered stones stretching into the distance. My mother hated it. Nothing good lives near dead water, she used to say. I thought she was being dramatic, until the crying started. It happened every night, right after midnight. At first, it was faint, barely noticeable, like the wind slipping through the cracks in the walls. But night after night, it got louder. A woman, crying, long, broken sobs that echoed across the empty riverbed. "Do you hear that?" I asked my mother one night. She froze. Then slowly she nodded. "Don't look outside," she said quickly. "No matter what you hear, don't look." That should have been enough, but it wasn't. A few nights later, I woke up again. The crying was different this time. Closer. Too close. It wasn't coming from the river anymore. It was coming from outside my window. I sat up slowly, my heart pounding. Help. The voice was soft, weak. "Please, help me find them." My throat went dry. Against my better judgment, I looked. She was standing there, right outside my window. Her dress was long and white, but stained with dirt and something darker. Her hair covered most of her face, but I could see her shoulders shaking as she cried. "Have you seen my children?" Her voice cracked. I couldn't speak. She took a step closer. Her face lifted slightly, and that's when I saw her eyes. They were filled with something worse than sadness. Desperation. "I can't find them." Her hand pressed against the glass. It left a wet mark. Water dripping down like tears. I looked everywhere. My body finally reacted. I stumbled back from the window. "I don't know," I shouted. "I haven't seen anyone." Then the crying stopped. Slowly, I looked back. She was gone. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I told my mother everything. Her face went pale. "You answered her?" she whispered. "I didn't mean to." "You should have stayed quiet," she told me. Her hands shook as she grabbed mine. "If you answer her, she remembers you." A chill ran down my spine. What does that mean? She didn't answer. Then, that night, I didn't sleep at all. I sat in bed, waiting, listening. Midnight passed. Silence. I let out a breath. Maybe it was over. Then, a whisper from inside my room. "Thank you." My blood froze. Slowly I turned my head. She was standing in the corner, inside, her dress dripping water onto the floor, pooling beneath her feet. her head tilted toward me. "You helped me." My voice trembled. I didn't. "You spoke to me," she said. Then she stepped closer. The air grew colder. "You listened." Tears streamed down her face. "Now you can help me find them." I shook my head, backing away. "I don't know where they are." Her expression changed. The sadness twisted into something else. "You will." Before I could react, her hand grabbed my wrist. Ice cold, and suddenly I wasn't in my room anymore. I was standing in water, the river, but it wasn't dry anymore. It was full, dark, and beneath the surface, I saw them. Children, dozens of them, floating, still. Their eyes slowly opened, all at once, and then they looked at me. "Are these yours?" she whispered behind me. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. Small hands reached up from the water, grabbing my legs, pulling me down. I struggled, kicked, but there were too many, and above me she watched, smiling. "Now you understand." The water filled my lungs. Everything went black. Then I woke up in my bed, gasping, coughing, dry. No water, no river. Just my room. I sat there shaking. "It was a dream," I whispered. But then I heard from outside children laughing, soft, right beneath my window. And her voice, "Come outside." What if something could copy you perfectly? Your voice, your face, even the way you breathe. And what if it was waiting for you in the middle of the Arizona desert? Because tonight's story isn't just about a creature. It's about something that pretends to be human, just long enough to get inside. It started during a road trip through northern Arizona. I wasn't supposed to be there late. The plan was simple. Drive through the desert, stop near a small town just outside the Navajo Nation, and spend the night. I'd been filming content all day. Empty roads, abandoned gas stations. That kind of eerie aesthetic people love. By the time the sun started setting, the sky turned this deep orange, then red, then something darker. The desert goes quiet in a way that doesn't feel natural. No birds, no wind, just silence. That's when I saw the first sign, a dead animal in the middle of the road. At least, I thought it was dead. I slowed down, headlights washing over it. It looked like a coyote, thin, ribs showing, fur patchy, but its legs were twisted at an unnatural angles, like something had broken them, and then tried to put them back together wrong. I should have kept driving. Instead, I stopped. The moment I did, its head snapped toward me. Not slowly, not like an injured animal. Fast, too fast. Its eyes reflected the headlights. But they weren't normal. They looked human, like there was thought behind them. I panicked and slammed the gas, driving past it. In my rear view mirror, I swear, it stood up. I didn't stop again until I reached a small roadside motel. The place looked abandoned, but there was one flickering neon sign that said vacancy. I didn't have signal on my phone, and honestly, I didn't want to keep driving in the dark. The man at the front desk barely spoke. He just handed me a key and said, "Don't go outside after midnight." That should have been my second warning. My room was old, dusty, but fine. I locked the door, set up my camera gear, and tried to relax. Around 11:47 p.m., I started hearing something outside. Footsteps, slow, dragging, like something was circling the building. At first, I thought it was just another traveler, but then it stopped right outside my door. Silence. Then a knock. 3 slow knocks. I froze. "Hello?" I called out. No response. Then I heard a voice. My voice. "Hey, open up. It's me." Every hair on my body stood up. It sounded exactly like me, but slightly off. Like someone mimicking me. After hearing me talk once, I backed away from the door. The voice came again. "Open the door. You forgot something." This time, it sounded closer, almost like it was right next to my ear. I didn't move, and after a few seconds, it started scratching. Not knocking, scratching. Long, slow drags across the wood. I stayed awake all night. At some point, the sounds stopped. I must have fallen asleep for maybe an hour. When I woke up, the sun was already rising. Everything felt normal again. Quiet. Safe. I told myself I imagined it. Until I checked the door. There were marks. Deep ones. Not like scratches from an animal. These looked deliberate. Like something had tried to carve its way in. I packed my stuff and went to check out. The man at the desk looked at me for a long time before saying, "You heard it, didn't you?" I didn't answer. He sighed. They copy voices first. That's how they get in. I felt my stomach drop. "What is it?" I asked. He leaned closer and whispered, "Skinwalker." I left immediately, didn't film anything else, didn't stop for gas until I was miles away. But the story doesn't end there, because something followed me home. A few nights later, back in my apartment, I was editing the footage from the trip. Most of it was normal. Roads, desert, sunset. But then I found something I didn't remember recording. A clip from inside my car. The camera was pointed at me, but I wasn't driving. I was sitting completely still, staring forward, not blinking, not moving, just smiling. A wide smile. And then, slowly I turned toward the camera and said, "Almost got it." I slammed my laptop shut, told myself it was fake, corrupted file, anything. But then I heard it, from the hallway, outside my apartment. Footsteps, slow, dragging, stopping right outside my door. Then a knock. 3 slow knocks. And a voice. My own voice. "Hey, open up." People online say the 7 gates of hell is just a myth, a dumb challenge, something teenagers dare each other to try at 3 a.m. 7 gates, 7 steps, 7 chances to turn back, and one rule: if you open the 7th gate, you don't come back. I didn't believe any of it, not until I found the map. It was posted on some old forum, half deleted, barely readable. The original uploader claimed the gates were hidden somewhere in the desert, far outside any city, Arizona. Coordinates included. Most people in the replies were calling it fake, but one comment stood out: don't go past gate 4. No explanation, no username, just that. So obviously I went. It took me hours to reach the location. The road disappeared about halfway there, turning into dirt, then into nothing but open desert. No signal, no lights, no people, just emptiness. And right as the sun started setting, I saw it. Gate 1. It wasn't what I expected. No fire, no symbols, just an old fence gate, barely hanging on its hinges. It looked like it had been there for decades, maybe longer. I got out of the car, heart already beating faster. This is stupid, I muttered, but I opened it anyway. The moment it creaked open, the air changed. The temperature dropped instantly, and the silence, it got heavier, like the desert itself was listening. Behind me, the gate slammed shut on its own. Gate 2 was about a 5-minute walk ahead. This one was different. Metal, rusted, covered in scratches. Deep ones, like something had been trying to get out, not in. I hesitated. That comment echoed in my head. Don't go past gate 4. I should have turned back right there. Instead, I pushed it open. The second I did, I heard something. Footsteps, right behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Just empty desert. But the feeling didn't go away. The feeling of being watched. Followed. Gate 3 was harder to find. The map started glitching. My phone flickering like it was dying. Even though the battery was full. When I finally saw it, I almost didn't recognize it as a gate. It was made of bones. Animal bones, I think. Tied together into some kind of frame. Hanging from the top. Skulls, small ones. Too small to be human. I tell myself that over and over. Too small to be human. When I opened gate 3, something left. Soft, distant, but clear. That's when I realized something terrifying. The sound wasn't coming from around me. It was coming from ahead. Gate 4. This one stood tall. Iron bars, twisted and bent like they'd been melted and reshaped, and behind it, darkness. Not shadow, not night, just black, like the world ended right there. I didn't want to open it. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to stop, to leave, to run. But I had come this far, so I reached out and pulled. The moment gate 4 opened, everything went silent, completely silent. No wind, no movement. Even my own breath sounded wrong, like it wasn't mine. That's when I heard it. I heard a voice right behind me. Turn around. I froze. Slowly I shook my head. no. The voice came again. This time, it sounded like my mother. Please turn around. I felt tears in my eyes. It sounded exactly like her. Warm, familiar, safe. But then, I remembered the rule, don't look back. So I stepped forward instead and walked straight to gate 5. Now, gate 5 didn't look like a gate at all. It looked like a mirror. A tall, standing mirror in the middle of the desert. And then I saw myself, but something was wrong. My reflection wasn't copying me. It was delayed. Smiling when I wasn't. Blinking when I was staring. And then it spoke, without me moving my lips. You shouldn't be here. I stepped closer, and my reflection stepped closer too, but faster, like it was trying to meet me first. I don't know why, but I reached out and touched the mirror. The surface rippled, like water, and suddenly my reflection grabbed my hand. I screamed and pulled back, falling onto the sand. When I looked up again, the mirror was gone. Gate 6 stood in its place. This one was wrong. There's no other way to describe it. It looked like it was breathing, the frame expanding and shrinking slowly, like lungs, and the sound, low, wet, alive. I didn't want to open it, I really didn't, but something inside me, something that didn't feel like me anymore, forced me forward. I pushed the gate open, and everything went dark. I don't know how long I was there. Seconds, minutes, maybe hours. But when I could see again, it was standing in front of the final gate. I was standing in front of the final gate. Gate 7. It was massive, towering, covered in symbols I couldn't understand. And behind it, something was moving. Not one thing, many things, shifting, crawling, watching. And then I heard the voice again, but this time, it wasn't pretending. Open it. I stepped back. No. The ground beneath me started to shake. The gates behind me, 1 through 6, all slammed shut at once. You opened the others, the voice said. You don't get to stop now. Something slammed against the other side of the gate. Hard. The metal bent outward for a second, like something enormous was trying to break through. My hands started moving on their own, reaching for the handle. I tried to stop, but I couldn't. And just as my fingers touched the gate, I woke up. I was back in my car, parked in the desert, morning light shining through the window. I gasped, shaking, drenched in sweat. It was a dream, I whispered. It had to be. But then I looked down at my hands. They were covered in dirt and something else. Blood, and carved into my palm, 7 small marks. That night, back home, I tried to forget, tried to move on, until I heard it from inside my closet. A voice, low, patient, waiting. You never opened the last gate. The closet door creaked open on its own, and something inside whispered, Let me out. There's a legend in the Pine Barrens of New Jersey about a child that was never meant to be born, a child that wasn't human. The story begins in the 17th century with a woman known only as Mother Leeds. No one remembers her real name, only the curse she left behind. They say she already had 12 children, 12 lives, draining everything she had. And when she found out she was pregnant again, she broke. Neighbors claimed they heard her scream that night, not in pain, but in anger.
Let this one be the devil.
No one thought she meant it, until the night the 13th child was born. It was during a storm. Of course it was. Thunder shaking the house, wind clawing at the walls like something trying to get in. Or maybe trying to get out. A few midwives had to come to help, but none of them stayed long enough to tell the full story, because what they saw that night didn't leave witnesses. The baby was born just after midnight. At first it looked normal, small, crying, human. But then it changed. Its crying turned into something else. A shriek. High-pitched, inhuman. Its body twisted, bones cracking, stretching. Its limbs grew longer, thinner. Its fingers fused into claws. One of the midwives tried to run. She didn't make it to the door. The baby's face shifted, eyes darkening, jaw extending, teeth pushing through its gums like needles. And then wings. Huge, leathery wings burst from its back, tearing through skin and bone. The room filled with screams, not just from the people, from the child. But it wasn't a child anymore. It leapt from the bed, clinging to the walls, moving too fast to follow. They say it circled the room once, looking at each person like it was choosing. Then it attacked. By the time the storm ended, the house was silent. The creature flew up the chimney and disappeared into the pine barrens. And that's where the legend says it still lives. They call it the Jersey Devil. I never believed the story. Not really. It just sounded like another creepy myth people tell to scare kids. Until I went camping in the Pine Barrens. It was supposed to be a normal trip, just me and 2 friends. A break from everything. The first night was fine, quiet, peaceful even. But on the second night, things changed. It started with a sound, far off in the trees. A scream. Not an animal. Not anything I'd ever heard before. It echoed through the forest, then cut off suddenly. My friends laughed it off. Probably a fox, one of them said. But I personally wasn't convinced. Later that night, I woke up to something outside the tent. Footsteps, slow, uneven, like something walking on 2 legs, but struggling to do it. I held my breath, listening. It stopped right outside. I could hear it breathing. Wet, heavy, close. I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. The beam cut through the thin fabric of the tent, and I saw it. A shadow. Tall, too tall, with something extending from its back. Wings. My heart stopped. The shadow tilted its head, like it knew I was watching. And then it made that sound again. That scream, but quieter this time, right next to me. I didn't move, didn't breathe, didn't even blink. I just closed my eyes. After a few seconds, The footsteps started again. Moving away, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. At sunrise, I rushed out of the tent. My friends were already awake. I told them everything. They didn't laugh this time, because just outside the tent and the dirt, there were tracks, not hooves, not feet, something in between, and next to them, deep marks in the ground, like something heavy had landed and taken off. We backed up immediately, didn't say a word the whole drive back. I tried to forget about it, tried to convince myself it was just my imagination, until a few nights later, I was in my room, scrolling through my phone, when I heard something outside my window, a faint scratching. I froze. Slowly, I looked up, and there it was, a shadow, perched on the roof, watching me. Its head tilted, just like before, and then it smiled, before spreading its wings, and disappeared into the night. Some people say the Jersey Devil is just a story, a legend, but I know the truth, because whatever was born that night is still out there, and sometimes it comes back to check on what it started.
London, 1888. Gas lamps flickered weakly against the thick fog, casting long, vicious shadows across the narrow alleyways. The air reeked of rot and damp wood. The mist in Whitechapel didn't just conceal the streets, it suffocated them. Dwelling within was something malicious, something truly wicked. People whispered about it at all hours of the day and well into the night. Something was lurking. Something was hunting. One day, in the wee hours of the morning, a woman's corpse was discovered, her body mutilated beyond recognition. What started as a single killing soon morphed into a tapestry of terror, with each crime becoming more brutal, more depraved than the last. The papers called him a monster. The papers called him Jack the Ripper. No one knew who he was. A butcher? A doctor? He could have been anyone. What especially terrified Whitechapel residents was how easily he disappeared. Police flooded the streets, questioning everyone, searching every corner, but it was like they were chasing a phantom. Then the letters began. One arrived at a news agency, written in red ink. I keep on hearing the police have caught me, but they won't fix me just yet. I love my work and want to start again. At the bottom, a signature, Jack the Ripper. Some believed the letter was a hoax. Others weren't so sure. The next murder proved something chilling, though. Whoever wrote that letter knew what was coming. The victims were always the same, women struggling to survive, alone in the dark of night. Easy targets in a place the world had forgotten. The way he killed wasn't random. It was precise, surgical. He knew exactly what he was doing. On one particularly horrifying night, the streets erupted in fear. Merely hours apart, 2 more bodies had been discovered. The second victim's body had been defiled worse, far worse than the first they discovered that evening. The animalistic brutality of these scenes shocked even the most seasoned detectives. It wasn't just murder anymore. It was something else. Something truly evil. Rumors spread like wildfire. Some speculated he was a doctor gone mad. Others claimed he wasn't human at all. That no man could vanish that quickly, strike that silently. People began locking their doors before sunset. Women refused to walk alone. Even officers of the law started to sense it. That itching feeling that they were no longer in control anymore. Then came the most disturbing piece yet. A small box arrived at the police station. Inside, half of a human kidney. Along with it, a note. Catch me when you can. The city froze. This wasn't just a killer. This was someone who wanted to be seen. Days turned into weeks and eventually months. The murders had just stopped. No warning, no explanation. The Ripper vanished into the same darkness he'd once emerged from. No arrests were ever made. No identity ever confirmed. Over a century later, his name still casts a dark shadow over the Whitechapel district of London. Some believed he had fled. Others thought he may have died. But then there are those who believe something far more disturbing. That he didn't stop. That he decided to step away from the limelight and continue his killings in a more discreet manner. Every now and then, when the fog rolls in thick and the streets fall silent, people still swear they feel it. That same haunting presence. Watching. Waiting.
In Fairfax County, there's a narrow tunnel most people avoid at night. It's old, concrete walls stained from years of rain and decay. A single road passes through it, just wide enough for one car. Locals call it something simple. Bunnyman Bridge. During the day, it looks normal, nothing special, just another forgotten place. But at night, it feels different. The air gets colder, the silence feels heavier, and even people who don't believe in anything say they feel like they're being watched. The story goes back decades. Some say early 19th century, others say it was later. But the version most people agree on starts the same way. A bus, transporting patients from a mental asylum. Something went wrong. No one knows exactly what, but the bus crashed somewhere near the woods surrounding the bridge. Most of the patients were found, captured within days, but not all of them. One never came back. At first, it didn't seem important. People assumed he died in the woods, or wandered too far to survive. But then, things started showing up. Dead animals, not just killed, but torn apart, hung from trees, left near the bridge, days apart, then closer together. People started reporting strange sightings. A figure, tall, standing near the edge of the tunnel. At first, no one took it seriously. They thought it was just someone trying to scare people. A prank. Until someone got closer. One night, a teenager drove through the tunnel with his friends. Just for fun. Just to prove nothing was there. As they entered the tunnel, the headlights hit something. Someone standing in the middle of the road. He wasn't moving. They slowed down. At first, it looked like a man. Then they noticed what he was wearing. A dirty, torn, rabbit costume. The mask was wrong. Not clean. Not like something you would buy. It looked old, rotting. The ears bent, the face cracked, and the man underneath was standing still. They laughed nervously. One of them rolled down the window and said, "Nice costume, man." No response. The figure slowly raised his arm, and that's when they saw it. An axe, rusty, heavy. Before anyone could react, he stepped forward, fast. They slammed the gas. The car sped through the tunnel. None of them spoke until they were miles away. They never went back, but they weren't the only ones. Over the years, more people reported the same thing, the same figure, the same costume. Always near the bridge, always watching. Some say he chases cars, others say he appears behind people walking through the tunnel. But the creepiest reports are the quiet ones. People say they never really saw him, but they heard something. Footsteps behind them. Slow. Heavy. Matching their pace. But every time they turned around, nothing was there. Some say if you stop in the middle of the tunnel at night and turn off your lights, you will hear something move in the darkness. Not far. Close. Right behind you. It doesn't start with something dramatic. No screams. No sudden attacks. It starts quietly. A knock. Somewhere in the United States, late at night, a man was sitting alone in his house. The TV was on, but muted. Just background noises. Outside, it was completely dark. No cars. No movement. Then, he looked toward the door, confused. It was late. Too late for anyone to be visiting. He waited, then another knock. This time it was louder. He stood up slowly, walked toward the door. Something already felt off. Not fear. Not yet. Just a strange feeling, like something wasn't right. He reached the door, looked through the peephole. 2 kids standing on the porch. They looked normal, just pale, wearing simple clothes, standing still, too still. He hesitated. He thought it was a setup. Then one of them spoke. "Sir, can you let us in?" The voice was calm, flat, no emotion. The man frowned. "Where are your parents?" Then the second child spoke. "We just need to come inside." The man felt it, that shift, that feeling in his chest, turning into something heavier, something closer to fear. "I can call someone for you," he said. Silence. Then the first child took a small step forward. "We can't come in unless you invite us." The man froze. Something about that sentence didn't feel normal. It was weird. Didn't feel like something a child would say. He leaned closer to the peephole, trying to see their faces more clearly, and that's when he noticed their eyes. Completely black. No white, no pupils, just complete darkness. He stepped back immediately, heart racing now. "I am not letting you in." Then silence. Then a harder knock. The voice changed. Still calm, but now more demanding. "Let us in." The man backed away. Something in his body was telling him, "Open the door." Not logically, but like pressure. Like something was pushing him to do it. He shook his head. No, no, no. Silence again. Then nothing. No knocking. No voices. Just quiet. He waited. Minutes passed. Finally, he moved forward slowly. Looked through the peephole again. Nothing. They were gone. No footsteps. No sound of them leaving. Just gone. He didn't sleep that night. And he wasn't the only one. Across the country, similar reports started appearing. Different people, different places, same description. Children late at night, knocking on doors, asking to come inside, and always the same eyes, completely black. Some people said they saw them outside their car windows, at gas stations, empty parking lots, always asking for something simple. Give us a ride. Let us in. And every person who encountered them said the same thing. The feeling, that pressure, like something was trying to control them, to make them say yes, to make them open the door. Some gave in, but those stories never had clear endings. They don't break in. They don't force their way inside. They wait until you let them. In New York City, the streets are never truly empty. Even late at night, there is always something. A passing car, a distant sound, someone walking far away. But sometimes, there's nothing. One night, a man was walking home, alone. It was late, past midnight. The streets were unusually quiet. No cars, no voices. Just the sound of his own footsteps echoing against the buildings. He didn't think much of it. He'd taken this route many times before. Until he noticed someone far ahead, standing under a streetlight, perfectly still. At first, it didn't seem strange, just another person out late. But something felt off, the way he stood. Too straight, not moving at all, just staring at the light. As he got closer, he could see more clearly. The figure was wearing a suit, clean, formal, out of place for that time of night. And then he saw his face. He was smiling, a really wide smile, too stretched, like it wasn't meant to be there. The man felt a sudden chill. Every instinct told him, don't look at him. So he looked away and kept walking. As he passed him, he could feel it, the presence, right beside him. Close enough to touch, but he didn't turn his head. He just kept walking, slowly, carefully. Then he heard something. Footsteps behind him, matching his own pace. Not faster, not slower, exactly the same. He swallowed, still not turning around. The footsteps continued. Then they stopped. The man kept walking, trying to stay calm, trying to act normal. Then something made him look back. just for a second. The figure was closer now, much closer, still smiling, still staring directly at him. And then he started moving again, but not like before. His movements were wrong, unnatural, almost like he was dancing. Slow, exaggerated steps, twisting slightly as he walked, but never breaking that smile. The man's heart started pounding. He crossed the street quickly, trying to create distance, but when he looked again, the smiling man had crossed too, still following, still moving in that strange, unnatural way, still smiling, wider now. The man picked up his pace, faster, but the footsteps behind him kept matching perfectly, no matter how fast he went. Then suddenly, silence. The footsteps stopped again. The man froze. Slowly, he turned around. The smiling man was standing still, right in the middle of the street, watching him. Then, very slowly, he tilted his head and raised one hand. Not waving, not pointing, just lifting it slightly. Then he spoke, but the voice was too quiet to hear. Just a whisper. The man couldn't understand the words, but he understood one thing. It wasn't meant to be heard. It was meant for him. Then the smiling man lowered his hand, turned around, and walked away. Back into the darkness, still smiling, never looking back. The man stood there for a long time, not moving, not breathing properly, trying to process what just happened. He never saw him again, but years later, he said one thing stayed with him. It wasn't the smile that scared him. It was the feeling that if he had reacted, even slightly, it wouldn't have ended the same way. Most people know the name Sweeney Todd, the barber of Fleet Street, a man who, according to the story, would sit his customers down, cut their throats, and send their bodies somewhere below the shop. It sounds like one of those exaggerated old tales, something people pass around because it's disturbing. I used to think that too, until I found the shop. This was about a year ago. I was in London for a few days. Nothing unusual, just a short trip. On my last night there, I decided to walk instead of taking a cab back to my hotel. I didn't know the area well, just followed whatever streets looked familiar. At some point, I realized I was lost. The streets were quieter than they should have been. Most of the shops were closed, lights off. That's when I noticed one place still open. A barber shop called Sweeney Todd. Small, old-looking. The kind of place you don't really see anymore. The sign above was a bit faded. I almost walked past it, but then I caught my reflection in the window. I hadn't shaved in a few days. Looked rough. I don't know why that mattered at that time, but I went in. The bell above the door rang softly as I stepped inside. The place smelled Strange, not dirty, just old, like wood and something metallic underneath it. There was one chair in the middle, and a man standing behind it. He didn't greet me right away, just looked at me through the mirror. "Sit," he said. His voice was calm. I hesitated. Something about the place felt off, but I ignored it and I sat down. The chair creaked slightly under my weight. He draped the cloth over me, tucked it in tight around my neck. Too tight. "Just a trim," I said. He didn't respond, just picked up the razor. I watched him through the mirror. His movements were precise, slow, too careful. I was looking at the mirror behind me just to check out the place. "Keep still," he told me, without even looking at me. That's when I heard it. A faint sound right from below. Not loud, but enough to notice, like something shifting or scrapping. I swallowed. "Is there someone else here?" I asked. He gave me no answer. He just kept working. Then I felt something. The chair moved just slightly, like it wasn't fully stable. I gripped the armrest. "Hey, what is this?" He leaned closer, close enough that I could see his face clearly in the mirror. There was no expression, just focus. Then he said something quietly. "Most people don't notice." My chest tightened. "Notice what?" He didn't answer. Instead, he tilted the chair back. Too far. Further than a normal chair should go. I felt my weight shift, like I was about to fall. That's when I saw it. Behind him. For a split second, the mirror caught something. A gap in the floor, directly beneath the chair. Dark and deep. I reacted without thinking. I grabbed onto the sides of the chair and forced myself forward. The cloth tightened around my neck as I moved. "Stay still," he said again. But this time, his voice wasn't calm. I pushed harder. The chair shifted again. Something underneath it clicked. That was enough. I stood up suddenly, pulling the cloth off. The razor slipped from his hand and hit the floor. We both froze for a second, then I ran. I didn't look back, didn't stop. I pushed the door open and got out onto the street. The air felt different immediately, like I'd just stepped out of somewhere I wasn't supposed to be. I kept walking, fast, didn't turn around, didn't go back. The next day, I tried to find the shop again. Same street, same area, but it looked abandoned. I asked someone nearby about it. They looked confused. Said there hadn't been a barber there in a long time. I didn't argue, didn't explain. That place still gives me nightmares. I stopped at a church in Cornwall. Something was perched above me. I wasn't exploring. I was lost. No signal, no GPS. Just narrow roads and fields that all looked the same in the dark. That's when I saw the church. It sat on a low hill, isolated from everything around it. No lights, no houses nearby, just a tower rising above the roofline. I pulled over to check my phone. No surface. I don't know why I got out. Maybe it was the silence. It didn't feel like normal countryside quiet. It felt contained. The path up to the church was uneven, overgrown, like no one used it anymore. The door was already open, not wide, just enough that it didn't need to be pushed. I stepped inside. The smell hit first. Damp stone, old wood, and something faintly animal. The interior was empty, pinched out of place, dust on everything. Then I heard it, a short scrap above me. I looked up. The tower staircase was to my right. I waited. Nothing. I should have left. Instead, I went up. The steps were narrow, enough that my shoulder brushed the wall. Halfway up, that smell got stronger. Not rot, not dirt. An animal. Fresh enough that it didn't belong in an abandoned place. At the top, there was a small open chamber. Moonlight coming through the window. I stepped in, looked around. It was empty. I moved toward the window, looked out over the trees. Something crossed the opening. Not from below, but from the side, like it had passed through the air. I stepped back immediately. A few seconds later, it happened again. Slower. That's when I leaned forward and looked down. Something was in the courtyard. At first, I thought it was crouching. Then I realized it was perched, balanced on the stone edge of a low wall. Its body faced the church, but its head was turned up toward me. It didn't move. Its shape wasn't right. Too narrow through the torso. Shoulders pulled inward, and behind it, something folded. Not arms, but wings. It was pressed tight against its back. I stayed completely still, then it shifted its weight. Its feet gripped the stone, clawed. The wings loosened slightly, not spreading, just enough to show their size. It was longer than its entire body. I stepped back from the window, and the moment I did, it reacted. Not by climbing, not by running. It just dropped out of sight, then a heavy impact against the outside wall. It was close, too close. I backed away from the opening. Something scraped against the stone below. Then another impact, higher up. I moved toward the stairs, fast but controlled. Halfway down, something hit the wall above me, hard. I ran the rest of the way, pushed through the door, and got outside. I turned just once. It was on the tower. not climbing, holding onto it, vertical. Its body pressed against the stone, wings partially open, not for flight, but for balance, and its face was still. No expression, with an owl head, just fixed on me. I didn't wait. I got in my car and left. I didn't slow down until I reached the main road. Lights, traffic, and noise. Everything normal again. I told myself that was it, that it stayed there. And every time I go to bed, I keep having dreams about it. That owl head, that expression. Thank you friends for watching. Please hit the subscribe button to keep the channel up. Have a wonderful night.